Welcome to Crypt of Fright. I'm Luna, your guide through the shadows where horror films, TV, comics, and video games all come out to play. Every week, we dig into the stories that shape the genre. The monsters who haunt it, and the creators who keep horror alive. Welcome to the Crypt. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Crypt of Fright. We are joined tonight by Tony Walsh. Tony is the Screenbox programmer, Scotchworthy Productions founder, the co-creator of BloodyDisgusting.com's web series World of Death. He is also what hasn't he done? Oh my goodness, he's done in 2020 Bloody Disgusting partnered with Scotchworthy Productions to provide their AVOD channel to Bloody Disgusting TV and a new original series Bloody Bites, amongst all the awesome stuff that he's done. So how are you today, Tony?
I'm doing well, Luna. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to connect with you. So before we start talking about your projects, let's go back to the beginning, to the very, very beginning. What was your first introduction to horror?
I can't say I really remember for certain, but I have flickers of memories from being a very young child and having horror moments that really just stuck out. I remember catching the opening scene to The Boogans when I was a very, very young kid. And I don't know what it was, but the girl being dragged down the hallway in the dark house, it was just really cool to me, and I was just completely intrigued. Between that, scary stories to tell in the dark was huge for me as a kid. Um, I really loved the first time I got to see a colored horror movie, rated R colored horror movie was Fright Night. And so that was a really important moment in my life. I was 6 or 7 years old, and so that was pretty influential for me. So I'd say somewhere around there. I remember watching Creep Show. I was at my parents had friends. We were all there at their place and spending the weekend with them. And the parents all went out to dinner and drinks, and so we were being babysat by their kids who are older, and they put on Creep Show. But they either didn't have the whole movie recorded on the VHS tape or they started it halfway through, because I only ever saw Something to Tide You Over, The Crate, and The Cockroach short. So I never even knew that there were two other short films before those, the Jordy Verrill one and Father's Day, until I watched the movie in like my late teens. I was like, holy shit, there's more to this movie than I realized. So that definitely, The Crate and Something to Tide You Over. I never really cared much for the cockroach one, but The Crate and the Ted Danson Leslie Nielsen one were so awesome. Like the effects were so cool, the lighting was so cool. Yeah, it just sucked me in. Been a fan ever since.
That is so awesome to hear. That very good to kind of think back about what it was like to be, very young again. So, who are some of your favorite horror creators? And also, too, we have Better Luck Than Chuck in the house. Ooh.
Yes,
And
that would be my wife listening in.
aw. And my very good friends over at the Horrific Podcast. Yeah, Colin is over in the UK, so actually in Ireland. So
Awesome.
he needs to catch that in the morning because it's very late over there. So
Yeah,
yeah,
isn't that
it'll
like
be around. I know, what a trooper.
yeah.
Um, so who are your favorite horror creators, Tony?
Current or all time?
Just in general, all
In
time.
general, obviously John Carpenter. I mean, who doesn't love John Carpenter? If you're a horror fan, you have to. And it's not even just horror. His non-horror movies, like I don't really consider They Live a horror movie. I don't consider Escape from New York, but the biggest one, Big Trouble in Little China, that is such a great movie that again, as a child, seeing that, I had the flu, and my mom's like, "You can rent one movie. What do you want to rent?" And I had seen the commercial for that playing on like our local access television channel, and I was like, "That movie looks super cool." So she rented it, and it, like, literally, even if I hated horror, I would respect and love the shit out of John Carpenter because of Big Trouble in Little China. Um, but I think Toby Hooper doesn't get a ton of credit. You look at his catalog. We just recently watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Me and the producers of the Ted Raimi show, we just did one of the nights, while we were cleaning up the set. We put on Texas 2, and like, you look at his career from Texas 1 and Eaten Alive, and then you go to like Life Force and Poltergeist and The Funhouse, Texas Chainsaw 2, even stuff later in his career like Mortuary and his Toolbox Murders remake were freaking awesome movies. So super, super respect for Toby Hooper. Um, Modern Mike Flanagan's the shit. I mean, he's amazing. He's humble. He's nice. He's one of those people that you have not heard a single person talk negatively about him. And I think that that's really a tremendous feat, to be consistently surrounded by people asking you to do something, and your patience never wears thin. And I think that that's really cool. um, Especially when so many people, like, I've been to conventions and film festivals and stuff going on now for almost 20 years, and as a fan and as a filmmaker creator, and there's a lot of celebrities that don't appreciate their celebrity. They don't appreciate their success in this business. And it's funny to me how you can lose sight of how hard it is to be successful in this business once you become successful. Because I sincerely believe that if I ever became successful, because I don't think I am, I would never look at my career and say, "Oh, well, fuck all the people who helped me get here," because it's because of them that I am here, and so I will always make time for those people. And so, yeah, it's um, so I'd say them. Sid Haig was awesome. I loved working with him, and Robert Zadar was really amazing too. They were both incredibly kind people.
Oh, yes.
Like, being in the business for 50 years between the two of them, each having
Yeah.
50 years of experience. Ted Raimi was great. He was a lot of fun to work with. So I know in your intro, you've got a picture of you and him at a convention.
Yeah, oh my god, he was so funny. I had a Frankenstein monster shirt on, and he was like, "Oh my god, that's such a cool shirt." And I was like, "Yeah, it glows in the dark." And we were just talking about like just the nuance of glow in the dark stuff. And yeah, he's super down to earth once you actually get talking to him. He's so cool.
Yeah, he's very kind, and it's funny because one of the funniest stories I have about Ted didn't directly involve when we worked on the TV show together, but we were at Creep Econ, which is in Ontario, California, back
Mhm.
in January, and we went out to dinner that night, Saturday night, and he was telling us about how the mayor of Ontario, California, came up to his table, and he had two like security men with him, and the security men like walked up first and were like, "Excuse me, like, they introduced the mayor to Ted." And then the mayor proceeded to be a huge fan of Ted's and was talking to him and gave him his card and was like, "If you need anything while you're in town, you just call this number, and I will help you out because I'm a big Ted Raimi fan." And I just thought that that was so fascinating, the diversity of fandom that people in the horror genre have. But I love having this live chat, by the way. I love seeing people commenting here. Uh,
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of people, like, we have, Sanatorium of Terror. I love John Carpenter. The first horror film I saw in the movie theater with my dad was Halloween.
Dude, that's insane. Like, talk about a lucky experience. I wish I could have seen that in the theater back when it came out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then we have, Brandy saying, "Bringing back good memories of movies." Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah.
We're that's what this is all about, is just having a good time. And
Yeah.
speaking of good times, Tony, was there a specific moment when you realized horror um was something that you enjoyed, but you also wanted to create? Was there like a moment where the light bulb went off in your head and you went, "Ah, I wanna do more than just watch it, I wanna make it.
Uh, I always wanted to be, I think going back to when I was like 11 years old, I wanted to be a movie director. I remember very, very distinctly writing a kung fu script. It was probably 15, 20 pages long. And my mom had an old like Magnavox video camera from like the mid 80s. I think we got it when my sister was born in 85. And so this was, and I've seen this model in different movies recently where it's like red, big old like video camera, might have been a Panasonic, but I was going to take that and I was going to shoot a kung fu movie in my backyard with my friends. And I put so much time and effort into thinking about shot composition and special effects, like visual effects, like thinking about if we want to make it look like, and this was even before like Mortal Kombat came out, I think.
Mm,
Maybe
mhm.
not. The Mortal Kombat might have come out because I remember there was a scene where like they're on a bridge and the guy like basically gets uppercutted and falls off the bridge, and I was going to shoot it from a low angle so it like looks like he's falling to his death from far away. And so I've always gravitated, and maybe it's just because of going to the movies as a kid in the theater and being completely blown away by movies that I saw the Monster Squad in the theater when I was a kid, when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And so it just blew my mind that you could do that. You could make a world where kids can hang out with Frankenstein's monster and battle Dracula and shit like that. And then as I got older and started respecting the art form of filmmaking, the technical side of filmmaking, which I'm not very good at, the technical side. If you asked me camera stuff like lenses and things,
Yeah,
yeah, but like,
right.
I saw Terminator 2, I saw Jurassic Park, I saw Alien 3, Candyman in the theater because I was like 12 years old when all those movies came out. And my dad really just was like, yeah, like you're old enough to be able to go and see these with me in the theater. And every single one of them I absolutely loved. So we just kept going to more and more and more of them. And that's how him and I kind of hung out, I think. And so, yeah, I always want to be a filmmaker. And then I thought, well, why not be a horror filmmaker? And that's what led to me going to Savini Special Effects School. As I went to college, I got a 4-year bachelor degree. I majored in like communications and media studies, but back in the 90s, you didn't really have film studies unless you went to a film school. And I didn't want to go to film school because if there's a million directors in film school and I wanted to stand out. So after college, I ended up going to Savini's effects school and thought I've always enjoyed special effects. I feel like I'm a decent enough artist in terms of sculpting and painting and stuff. And so I said, I'll do that. And if nothing else, it's a foot in the door to becoming a filmmaker. And while I was going there is when I directed my first movie. It's My Party, I'll Die If I Want to.
Oh, that's awesome. So, if you could go back and show one of your current projects to your younger self, what do you think your younger self would say?
Well, I think that tenacity is something that everybody understands the concept of, but so many people don't respect it or aren't tenacious enough to put in the hard work and effort. And so I think I think it's twofold. It's interesting because it's like
Mhm.
if I was able to go back and like show my 24-year-old self when I'm writing the script for It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want to and going to Savini's effects school, if I was able to show myself then the pilot episode of Better Luck Than Chuck, the horror trivia game show that my wife and I created, I don't think I could comprehend the fact that I was responsible for creating something as cool as that because I'm so fucking proud of that show and it
Mhm.
looks so good. But
Mhm.
then the other
Yeah.
side of it is like I look at that and I say, okay, well, if I knew 20 years ago that if you pursue this, the direction that your career is going, what happens if what happens if you never become successful? Like, would you still do it? Like, or would you do things differently? And obviously hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
So many instances where I look back to when I was promoting my first movie and MySpace was still a thing. It's like Facebook was just in its infancy stages. So social media, I could have utilized that so much better. I could have utilized YouTube so much more. and I could have gone to more film festivals, and I just didn't. And so now I feel like if I would have done that, if I would have shown myself, here's where you are in 20 years, maybe it would have kicked my ass into being more aggressive when I had more energy when I was younger. I don't know.
Interesting thought though. It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want to is so fun. It's a choose your own adventure movie. Ah, for anybody in the chat, I would love to check it out. Go check it out.
I think my
Um,
wife is my biggest fan. So thank you, Mary, for writing that. Yeah, I mean, anybody that's watching
oh,
this, It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want to is an 80s horror film. It's been compared to Night of the Demons meets Evil Dead meets Creep Show. And
ooh,
it's very low budget, but it's built with all passion and heart from a group of horror fans, me and all my friends that went to Savini School. Basically, I spent my life savings at the time, and we went into this abandoned funeral home in Monessen, Pennsylvania, where the effects school is, and we spent like 2 months shooting this horror movie in this cold ass house that had barely any electricity, no plumbing, no heating. It was crazy, but when you're in your 20s, you're just like, fuck it, let's just do it and let's have
let's do
fun.
it.
And yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
Oh,
cool,
wow.
you know. It's got
Yeah.
Tom Savini in it. It's a choose your own adventure movie. If you purchase the DVD, which is really the only place you can find that movie right now, is at scotchworthy.com, my website. But you can get the choose your own adventure movie along with the regular movie, which is pretty fun to play along and make a drinking game out of it, or smoking game, whatever you do, you know.
That sounds so much fun. So I can really tell that you have a lot of love for horror, and that love eventually led you to creating projects like Bloody Bites. Was there a direct connection between the films and stories you loved growing up and the anthology format you chose for the series?
Well, so Bloody Bites came from World of Death. World of Death in 2013, ABCs of Death 2 did a contest. And for those of you who are not familiar, there were the two ABCs of Death movies where there's a short film for every letter of the alphabet and someone gets killed by something that starts with that letter. And in each of those two movies, they did a contest that they opened to the general public and said, you can make a short film and submit it, and we'll pick one winner, and that movie will be put into the film. And so in part two, it was the letter M. And we had a bunch of friends who were making short films for the contest. Initially, I wasn't going to make one, and then I ended up doing one called The Muck, which ended up going to South by Southwest and Scream Fest and Chicago International Film Festival. A lot of really prestigious festivals, and that is the to date probably the largest accolade I have as a filmmaker and as a director. Um, but so the motivation to do that short film, because I didn't want to make a short film, but the motivation was is if we make all these short films and we don't win the contest, they didn't own the movie, you still retained your ownership. So me and my buddy Jim said, let's just make a show and we'll collect as many movies as we can. And so we ended up creating World of Death. We collected over, I think initially over 200 short films, and we represented like more than 20 countries. And because of that, I went and was able to talk to Bloody Disgusting because I knew them. They're Chicago suburb guys, just like I am.
Mhm.
So I was
Yeah.
able to meet up with them and pitch them World of Death, and they loved it. They thought it was super cool, and so they put it on their YouTube channel. That ran from 2016 to 2020, and we featured over 500 short films and represented filmmakers from more than 50 countries, which is super cool.
Wow.
So proud of that.
Yeah.
And so then in 2020, 2019, Bloody Disgusting came to me and said, Tony, we've partnered with Cinedigm, which is now Cineverse, the company that owns Screambox. We've partnered with them to create a streaming channel called Bloody Disgusting TV. We'd love for you to take World of Death and kind of evolve it into the show. We're thinking about calling it Bloody Bites. And, we want to feature the best horror, sci-fi, and thriller short films in the world. And so that's where it came from. And we're currently releasing our 18th season.
Whoa.
Pretty awesome. So we've been running for 6 years now, and I'm just really I'm proud of it. I love that not only are we giving audiences an opportunity to check out really cool movies that run the gamut of every scope of the genre. You know, I mean, you got vampires, werewolves, monsters, haunted house, found footage, you know, cult movies, witch movies. There's a little bit of everything in there. Batshit movies that make no sense whatsoever, but look really.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that that's all super cool. But what I love too is that we're building a community of filmmakers, some of which have gone on to work together on things. Um, you know, I meet so many filmmakers either at conventions or at film festivals that are like, "Oh, hey, I'm this person." I'm like, "Oh my god, this is your short
Oh,
film from
this is
Bloody
your
Mary."
movie.
Yeah, and it's so cool the community that we've created, and I'm not I've never really thought of myself as like a selfless person. I just kind of thought of myself as a person. And and like to have to be the one orchestrating a show like Bloody Bites that is providing filmmakers an opportunity to non-exclusively showcase their movies to the world through Screenbox and Bloody Disgusting to me is such a cool thing. And I'm ever grateful to Bloody Disgusting for giving me the opportunity to do this, which led to my job at Screenbox. So,
Yeah. So, looking back at Bloody Bites and the evolution of it, how would you compare the first season to the current season of Bloody Bites?
I mean, I don't really know if I can say that there's a distinctive difference because we
Mhm.
always are striving to collect high quality production value films, films with good stories, good acting, great special effects, cool visual effects, and I don't feel like we've really evolved from that or strayed from that. I think that
It's good.
we continue to showcase really cool short films. Um, I've tried to kind of spread out a little bit more in terms of like diversity in just like I don't know how I want to say it. Like I feel like initially it was just like almost like I was going after short films that I had seen at festivals and was like, dude, that movie was fun as hell. I really want that. And now I'm a little more open to collecting stuff that maybe I'm not as big a fan of personally, but
Mhm.
I believe that the audience is going to enjoy it. And I think that that's really important because I think that this one of the issues with this industry is that the people at the top of the food chain, they have taste. And not all of them are even horror fans. And they're the ones who are saying this is what becomes successful and this is what won't become successful. And I don't really understand why they make those choices. And so to me, it's like at the end of the day, if something looks good, if it's well produced, if I feel like someone out there, even if it's not me, is going to enjoy it, I want to give it a chance to be showcased.
Yeah, definitely. So, if you could bring any horror icon, living or deceased, to appear in a future episode of Bloody Bites, who would it be and why?
When you say horror icon, do you mean like Freddy Krueger or do you mean like Robert Englund?
Uh, like, it could be either or, whatever you
Well,
want.
okay. So I think it would be super cool if Bloody Bites reached a level of acclaim sufficient enough for a IP, an iconic IP, to say let's do a
Mhm.
partnership. You know, that's one of the
Ooh.
biggest things that we were hoping and still hope to do with Better Luck Than Chuck. Better Luck Than Chuck is the horror trivia game show that my wife and I created. It's releasing this fall. And what we always said is it's hosted by, and it's a little bit of a sidetrack here, but it's hosted by the widow who's a witch and her dead husband Charlie. So imagine if Elvira is married to the crypt keeper and she murdered him and keeps him in her basement. And so this poor guy is rotting away on their couch, not able to move below the neck, but he's a sarcastic son of a bitch. And she hosts this game show, and he's like her sidekick. So it's very much like Win Ben Stein's Money or MTV's Remote Control for those of you old enough to remember that show. And what we always said we wanted to do is how cool would it be if Chucky came walking down the stairs one episode and sat on the couch next to Charlie, or Art the Clown, or Pennywise, or anybody like that. So I feel like I would go with, you know what, I was gonna say Five Nights at Freddy's because it's really relevant currently, but I think I would say honestly, I think I would say either Jason Voorhees or Chucky. Chucky because he's got a great personality, and Jason because he's just such an iconic person and like killer in movies, and even though he doesn't talk, I
Mhm.
just am a big fan of the Friday 13th are probably my favorite of all the slasher franchises. So yeah, I'd say either Chucky or Jason.
Nice. I think that would be super cool. And then somebody in the chat said, "Ooh, sounds fun." I
Yeah.
know, right? So since the perfect segue there, because I really wanted to talk about Better Luck Than Chuck. What do you think? What are you hoping for audiences to connect with the show? Like, what are you hoping?
Well, I think the really cool thing is so we have a 6 episode season. It's 30-minute episodes. The season finale, the sixth episode, we bring back the top three finalists from the first 5 episodes, and they compete for the chance to win the grand prize trip, which is a trip to Universal Halloween Horror Nights at either Orlando or California. It's just so cool that Universal jumped on board with the show, um, and so what I love about it is that we have 6 episodes to grab our crowd, find our audience, and suck them in and ask them for more, or ask them to help us demand more. Because nowadays, what we're seeing is that anything can go viral if enough people support it. And the biggest struggle is getting people to pay attention long enough or care enough to support something. I've seen consistent emails from people asking me to contribute to their Indiegogos or Kickstarters. You've got
Yeah.
people who launch channels on YouTube. You've got podcasts. There's so many people out there creating content now that we can consume as fans and as audience members that, it's like, it's so hard to get to catch the attention of someone and have them be like, holy shit, I love this so much. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to remember it. I'm going to tune in every week. And so I love that we have 6 episodes that we plan to release 6 weeks in a row, one episode a week.
Oh.
And that's going to allow our audience to grow, hopefully. We
Mhm.
initially started by, we actually released from Christmas to April Fool's Day, we released a 16-episode micro sitcom starring the Widow and Charlie, our hosts. It's on our YouTube channel, so go to Better Luck Than Chuck's YouTube channel. Also, find us on Instagram and TikTok and give us a follow, please. But I highly advise anyone that's listening to this, look, it's 16 micro episodes of this sitcom. It's like 35 minutes total. I promise you, if you like horror and you like comedy, you will likely binge the entire season because it's so much fun. And Adam and Alexis, who play the Widow and Charlie, are awesome. They're hysterical. You really fall in love with these characters. And so now you can watch these characters hosting a game show where you can also at home as a horror fan test your horror knowledge, which is super exciting for me as a lifelong horror fan. My wife did such a tremendous job with the production design. The set is beautiful. It's awesome. It's a mid-century basement because the widow killed Charlie in 1972. So it's not like she's getting a contractor down there to update, the renovate the basement or anything. And thank you for throwing the link in the chat. I appreciate that. Um, so yeah, I'm very excited about Better Luck Than Chuck because we have a hell of a proof of concept where people can go and watch this depending on where we release it. They can watch it and they can become a fan and they can say, hey world, we need more Better Luck Than Chuck. And then by creating that demand, we should be able to get people to say, okay, let's do another season. And that's our sincere hope. We put a lot of love into it. It's the first thing that my wife and I have created together as a partnership, and I'm very proud of working with her, as well as the rest of my film family. I've got so many people from our co-producers, Rob Stern and Sarah Sharp, who I've been working with since 2011. Our associate producers, Charlie Queen and his wife, Lauren Lashansky. I mean, they're both so many awesome partnerships that worked on this with
Yeah.
us. that have just put in so many hours to dedicate to help make it successful, and we're just excited for fans to finally get to see it soon.
Yeah, that just sounds incredible. I know we can't talk too much about the nitty-gritty of it, but, maybe once it releases, we can definitely dissect some of that. But if Chuck could cross over into any horror universe, where would you send him and why?
That's a good question. Isn't like thank you, Sanitarium of Terror. You rock. Um isn't I haven't seen Iron Lung yet, but isn't Iron Lung where he's like literally in like a capsule for pretty much the entire movie? Like he's in a small confined space.
I haven't checked out Iron Lung yet. I'm not a big fan of Markiplier, so
Okay.
I was like, maybe I'll check it out eventually."
Because I haven't seen it either. Oh, of course, my wife is saying Megan. Chuck would be fun in
Uh,
Megan,
Megan.
but I think honestly where I see him being the most beneficial is like in a contained movie. Like imagine him next to Ryan Reynolds in Buried, talking his ear off while he's trying to get out of this coffin, you know, or any of these movies where someone's stuck in a car, you know. I feel like you put Charlie in the back seat and instantly it becomes a horror comedy. And so I think that that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that does sound very, very fun. Okay, so now I did want to ask a little bit about Screambox. You're the curator over there, and Screambox has become an important home for horror content. Where do you see the platform heading over the next few years, Tony?
Well, if I had my druthers and could do what I wanted there and had, you know, the flexibility with a budget to not just acquire content but also create content, which I think we're chipping away at. You know, we just produced a 6 episode show hosted by Ted Raimi. It's called Your Dearest Darkest Friend. It's so much fun. It's going to be a blast for people to watch this Halloween. It releases. It basically imagine Pee Wee's Playhouse meets Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, set in Disney's Haunted Mansion. And
That just sounds perfect, Tony.
it's a lot of fun. It's super cute and kitschy, very nostalgic feeling, and then you mix that with, so basically each episode Ted starts out by doing a little skit with his co-hosts, who's Mortimer, a puppet that's a head in a jar, and who's the previous owner of the house, and a rat named Rathu who doesn't talk, it just screeches and runs around. And so you have this little skit with him and his co-hosts, and then he goes into his parlor to make a drink for him and his guest, and then his guest comes in and we're talking, you know, horror celebrities, musicians, and all sorts of really cool, intriguing people that horror fans are going to get a kick out of listening to. And the interviews are super deep and personal. And I love that we got so much awesome content out of these people. You know, and just some really cool people, super cool people. Like he interviews Lars Fredrickson, the lead singer of Rancid, and like
Mm.
growing up listening to Rancid it's crazy to then meet the lead singer who's not just like a punk icon, but to be completely honest, like he is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. I hope I'm not ruining his reputation in the community of being a hard ass, but like he's just the nicest motherfucker. And and you know, people like Barbara Crampton, who I've been watching her movies since I was a kid, and to meet her in person finally, watch her sit down on the couch and have a Rihanna martini with Ted while they talk
Oh.
about her career is super cool. So my hope is that taking something like that, plus we've got like the Halloween episode of Bloody Bites this year is thank you, Brandy. You kick ass. Really appreciate you guys giving us some support. Better Luck Than Chuck's coming out in a few months. It'll be out before Halloween. Um,
You definitely do need to subscribe to Screambox ASAP because that Ted Raimi, Your Dearest Darkest Friend, is going to be awesome.
yeah, it's going to be super cool. Look at how cool So each of the guests brings Ted an item that he has an oddity shelf. And so each guest brings him something to add to the oddity shelf. And some of them would obviously take them back. But like, so Barbara, she brought her copy of the Your Next script. Okay. And
Ooh.
she let us make a copy of it so that we can have that in future seasons. So I literally have Barbara Crampton's, you can see her name on there, and she's got some notes on there. Her copy of Your Next. It's so cool, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited for people to see that. And so Ted's show is one of the first shows that we've produced 2 years ago, and last year we released The Trouble with Tessa, which is a 6-episode miniseries that I think is really awesome. And that was kind of the first thing that I was able to get produced with Screambox as an original series. And so now we've got Your Dearest Darkest Friend. We did a contest because this year is Bloody Disgusting's 25th anniversary. And we did a contest to bring their logo, Buzzkill, to life in a short
Ooh.
film that will be the Halloween episode of Bloody Bites. So the winner, Jesse Hennessy, his production team just wrapped production on Buzzkill a week and a half ago, and it's freaking cool. I'm so freaking excited about it. So like we've got all these really cool things that we're producing in house. We've got awesome theatrical released movies like Return to Silent Hill, Silent Night, Deadly Nights remake, Toxic Avengers remake, obviously Terrifier 3, Terrifier
Yeah.
2. And then there's so many other exclusive movies that we have that are really cool too. We just released Dragon, Dragn, which is about a killer drone. And it's
Oh.
really well produced. It's got great gore and special effects in it. There's so many cool things that we're bringing out that if people are looking for an alternative to Shudder, and I'm not crapping on Shudder because they got a lot of great movies on there, but if you're looking for an alternative to Shudder, if you're looking for a platform that is curated by a diehard horror fan, aka me, and you can tell by what I'm wearing and where I'm sitting,
Yeah.
Screambox is just an awesome platform that's very affordable. And I've curated it in a really cool way. We have like a video nasties collection that includes a lot of the original video nasties as well as a lot of modern movies that would be considered video nasties. A lot of really cool curated collections from horror celebrities, icons, influencers, and the like, and just a lot of really cool movies. And then the future of it is just continuing to acquire cool stuff, supporting independent film as best as I can with the abilities that I have there, and continuing to create cool horror content. I have a slate of a half a dozen projects between shows and movies that I really want to get greenlit. And it's just a matter
Yeah.
of hopefully Ted Raimi's show does well so that the bosses say, all right, Tony, you did a good job with that one. What's next?
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the goal is what's next for us? How do we grow? How do we keep our audiences engaged? So I can definitely resonate with that message and theming. So, speaking of Ted Raimi, I'm a huge fan of his, of course. So, I had to ask, coming out soon, we have Your Dearest Darkest Friend. Your Dearest Darkest Friend has already generated a lot of interest. What can you tell us about it without giving too much away? I know you teased a little bit, but is there more you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, how the premise of the show is, Ted's character is basically stolen this house from his dead friend Mortimer. We don't know if he killed Mortimer or not. I understand it's very similar to Better Luck Than Chuck's concept with the hosts, but
Mhm.
I didn't come up with the concept. Ted did, so you can't say that I'm just using it multiple times. But so he basically now lives in this house, and he is a man of leisure, and I use that term very strongly but loosely in the sense of he doesn't really do anything. He just kind of lounges around the house, and
Mhm.
he likes to promote the fact that he doesn't do anything. So It's pretty funny in that regard. I think Ted's got a great personality that shines through in his character with this show. Um, and yeah, so basically, after he does his little skit at the beginning, he makes a drink and he teaches the audience how to make these drinks, and they are super cool drinks. They were created by our mixologist Colin, who is a bartender down in Florida, who came up for the shoot. We shot in Illinois, and oh man, we got Deadbeats podcast in here. What's up, Will and JT? I
Oh,
miss you.
yeah.
Um, so we've got, you know, this guy Colin who did these awesome drinks, and we're talking like the Rihanna Martini has a Midori melon and kiwi sink, and we have him bring it up to the bar in like a Erlenmeyer flask, and it's glowing like the reagent and reanimator. And then he injects
Ooh.
it with a syringe and puts that into the martini, and that's what him and Barbara Crampton drink. Um, we did drinks with like dry ice, so they're bubbling and frothing
And
and
cool.
foaming. It's so cool, and so much fun. It adds such a great layer of production value and a unique dynamic to the show, so people can make these drinks at home. And let me just say, Joe Lynch's Old Fashioned, which is called the Funeral Pyre, is the best old fashioned I've ever had in my entire life. When people watch this show, they will go to Amazon, they will buy the smoker, which you just set, it's a skull, and you set it on top of your glass and you hit it with a torch, and the wood chip smoke goes into the glass and smokes your old fashioned. The best old fashioned I've ever had.
Wow.
Then he interviews these people, and then they give him an oddity to add to his collection. And that's pretty much how each of the episodes play out. And we spend, about 30 minutes with each of these episodes. We are planning on hopefully premiering the pilot episode at Film Quest in Utah, which is a big film festival, big, genre festival. And then after that, we're releasing it on Screambox weekly, starting probably Friday, October 30th. And it'll be running through November into early December, with 6 episodes releasing each week.
I know my next purchase. I know, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that so cool?
and Ted's show is just like, again, it's one of the things. It's like the icing on the cake. You can find a lot of the movies on Screambox on other platforms, but what Screambox does for horror fans is it curates those movies together, and it's inexpensive. We're not asking you to pay us $15 a month or anything. I think it's like $6 a month, or if you can get like promo codes half the time we're advertising those. If you do like a year subscription, I think it's like $5 a month is what it boils down to.
Wow.
That to me is equivalent to renting 2 movies when I was a kid, So I
Mhm.
think it's well worth it. And then you can find whatever you want on there. And we got lots of really cool stuff between exclusives, like I said, and a lot of really great catalog titles.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like a great deal too, because if you go on Amazon, not that we'd ever wanna support big mega corporations like that, but if you go there and you rent a movie, it's like, what, $4.99, and you only get to watch that one movie, and that's it, and they give you, like, 48 hours or something to watch it, and then it's gone. But with this, you can replay something that you really like to maybe do a review on it or something, and rewatch it, pause it as many times as you want, take notes, whatever the case may be, watch as many as you want. That's just seems awesome.
I can
That
certainly say that some people utilize Screenbox in that manner. Terrifier 3 consistently gets so many hours watched or minutes watched from our subscribers. It blows my mind how many people must just have that movie on repeat constantly. And that's my sincere hope, with better luck than Chuck, is that people are going to watch it and say, this is really fun. It's funny. It's educational. It's like the type of thing that I could watch with my friends or with my kids, if I want them to be horror fans, and that people watch it and enjoy it so much that they want to perpetuate it by watching it all the time, repeat watching it, gaining those viewer minutes or whatever, if it's on a streaming service or whatever, so that the performance levels of it are so top notch that people have a hard time looking away from it and say, we want to make this, we need to make another season of this. So There you go. Free 7-day free trial, Brandy.
7-day free trial, yeah. So, Sanatorium of Terror, I'm going to have to subscribe to Screambox. Sounds
Yeah.
like you have a really great content and some amazing upcoming shows. Barbara Crampton is amazing person. I met her at Spooky Empire. Yeah, she really is awesome.
$199 a month for 3 months. I don't know if anybody can scan that, but there you go. Hopefully you
Ooh.
can pull that up on your phone and scan it. Rewatch this show. Give Luna another watch, and pause on that part and try and scan that QR code.
Yeah, scan that code if you want that, promotional there. That'll be awesome for you guys. So getting back to a little bit of your dearest, darkest friend, what was it like collaborating with Ted Raimi? I know he's beloved by horror fans, so what was that like for you?
Oh, it was great. I was a lot more nervous producing and directing this show than I have been in the past, which is really weird to me. I don't know if that's like something to do with my age or because of the pressure of it being for my company and kind of my job being on the line, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, when I worked on High and the Hog with Sid Haig and Robert Zadar and Joe Estevez, when I worked on It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want to with Tom Savini, for some reason it's like I was just so in director mode that I wasn't like nervous, you know. I just kind of got comfortable and confident. But with Ted's show I was a little more nervous, and it's probably because it's my job, you know. So I was like, I need to make sure that this goes well, because if it doesn't, my company will probably end up you know, firing my ass. Thankfully the show turned out great and I'm very excited for people to see it. But um you know, I think that working with him was a lot of fun. We had a lot of really great moments, and since it's not serious, it
Mhm.
was funny. It was, you know, there was a lot of times where people on set were having fun, and that makes me happy, because it's very important that you have a positive dynamic on set. Uh, I was grateful for my co-director Charlie Queen. Him and I work very well together, and I think that the great thing about that is we could tag team. You know, if there was one scene that one of us wasn't feeling particularly strong on, or if one of us was tired for whatever reason, the other guy could go in and do the directing. And so we did a lot of kind of back and forth where one of us would be at the monitor and one of us would be in the room with Ted or Ted and the guests. And I thought that that was really great. Um, and so, you know, just overall, and again, all these guests, like, you know,
Yeah.
we're talking Joe Swanberg, Joe Lynch, Barbara Crampton, Lars Fredrickson, Charlie Benante from Anthrax and Pantera, um, and then Robert Kurtzman from KNB. It's like,
Ooh.
you know, Robert Kurtzman's the guy who came up with the concept for From Dusk Till Dawn. How do you not shit your pants when you're in a room with the guy who came up with the concept for From Dusk Till Dawn? You know, um, as a horror fan, he did the effects on Evil Dead 2 and Creepshow 2, and you know, like so many movies, and all of these people just, it was such an awesome experience. And the really cool thing is my wife found our location. It's a haunted house in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, which is only about 10 minutes from where we live. So they'd only have the haunted house open September and October. So we went in there and we're like, are you willing to let us rent it for 2 months? And they were like, of course. And so it was like convenient. It was, you know, it was the perfect setting for building a haunted Victorian manor for Ted to host the show out of. Yeah, I'm so excited. I can't wait to start releasing screenshots and clips from it in a trailer so that people can see it and be like, all right, this looks fun. I totally need to get a Screenbox subscription to check this out.
Right, yes. That is so true. So, what aspect of Ted Raimi's performance are they going to be the most excited about with this one?
Just his quirkiness.
Mhm.
I think the reason why Ted has become a horror icon is because, you know, Ted's never necessarily been the star of a movie. You know, there's one or two that he had a leading role in, but he's always kind of been on the sidelines, quite literally in Shocker as the football assistant coach, but also, you know, in movies like again Evil Dead 2 Army of Darkness, you
The
know,
Grudge.
The Grudge,
Yeah.
you know, his role as Joxer and Xena. It's like he's always been that kind of guy on the side who you see and you're like, oh, I love that guy. You know, I mean, he was in Candyman for Christ's sake.
Yeah. He
I
was.
love that he plays the badass at the beginning of Candyman because it's so stark contrast to him normally. And I think that's what I love most about Your Dearest Darkest Friend is that Ted is playing into Ted's strengths, and Ted's strengths are he's quirky, he's silly, but he's lovable. And that's what people are. I think people are going to just. This is going to make people that are in my generation. It's going to take them back to being a kid watching Mister Rogers, you know, watching Fraggle Rock, that type of stuff. So I'm very excited about that because um, he's a good host in that respect, you know. And then again, you you couple that with almost the opposite side of the spectrum with the silliness and stuff, with these very insightful and just awe-inspiring interviews with these horror icons and music icons. So I absolutely love that you can spend a few minutes getting some silly personality out of Ted, and then you dive into some drink making, which is super fun. And then after that, you've got this 20-minute interview with, you know, where these people again, you know, talk about, you know, them growing up and where their love of horror came from and that type of stuff. And you know, I think that's so cool that they were willing to delve that deeply into their history and their passion for the genre and what they do. That makes all of us fans of their work. So, yeah, it's cool.
Nice, nice. Can you share the most memorable behind the scenes story involving Ted? I know
Well,
there's a lot, but
yeah,
one that sticks out to you the most.
well, memorable. It's just being on set with these people that I've grown up watching or listening to their music of. Again, you know, I was a metalhead in junior high and high school.
Yeah.
So like Charlie Benante is the drummer of Anthrax, and for the
Mhm.
last few years, he's been touring as the drummer for Pantera. Being a metalhead and being able to hang out with the drummer of two iconic metal bands is fucking awesome. And so things like that are really cool. Like I said, I've had a crush on Barbara Crampton since I was a kid. You know, I mean,
I mean, who doesn't at this point, you know? Who
exactly
didn't?
who doesn't? And she's just such a wonderful person. She's so kind and just so outgoing and fun to be around. Um, but so that would be the most memorable experience. Like when the audience sees the parlor and the oddities room, I think they're going to be really blown away at the set design, which I'm very proud of my wife Meredith for doing the set design. If there's anyone looking for a good production designer, hit up Meredith Tamillo. She's freaking amazing. But I love that, like, I have all these moments in my mind now, in my memory bank of being in these rooms, these just really cool, beautifully constructed rooms with Ted Raimi and Barbara Crampton or, you know, Joe Swanberg, like these iconic people that I'm just that for me was so cool. I think one of the funnier stories I can say is there's one, it's in the Lars Fredrickson episode. um I'm pretty sure it's the Lars Fredrickson episode. There's a couple of episodes where we have these bits while Ted is like making the drinks, where he kind of takes like a moment and like we go into a daydream, you know, of Ted like doing something silly. And I really love the Lars Fredrickson one. He's like Ted's rocking out and the head in the jar is kind of like head banging, rocking out. And Ted, so we had all of us, there was like 8 of us surrounding the bar, and we all had these little, they're like puck lights. They're these little like credit card lights that are really, you know, really awesome and super convenient. You can change the colors of them and stuff. And so
Nice.
all of us were holding these little lights and they were flashing different colors, and we were all like dancing with them to make it look like he was in a big party rave. And then Ted's behind the bar and he's got glasses on and he's like, you know, like rocking out and the head in the jar is rocking out. And it just is this quick little cutaway moment where he's like, well, like I love listening to heavy metal music, or I love listening to punk music because I like doing this. And then it cuts to him rocking out, right?
Mhm.
And while we were shooting it, Ted lost his balance and fell backwards into this cabinet that's behind the bar that has all these glasses on it. And so a couple of the glasses
Ooh.
fell and broke, and everybody's like, oh my God, is everybody okay? And it was very funny because, again, for those of you who haven't been on a set before, one of the best things about being on set is the family that you build on a set. Everybody that you work with becomes family because you're in the trenches together. And so when you have those moments where you're able to get more of the crew besides just like the cameraman and the director, in the room with the actors and actually participate in creating something together, that is just such a memorable and magical moment. And so I thought that was a really cool memory.
Oh, I really like that. Thanks so much for sharing that. That was really nice. As we start to kinda close out the show, can you believe where time has gone? It's been already an hour. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. Tony, what project or goal is next on your horizon after your dearest, darkest friend and releasing, Better Luck Than Chuck?
Well, season two of Better Luck Than Chuck. That would be a dream come true. I believe it has everything that is needed to make something successful, and I think it just needs its audience now. We have done a nice job of building a grassroots organic audience through Instagram, TikTok, and our YouTube channel. Again, if you haven't already, please subscribe and follow us on those platforms if you don't already. Um, but to me, that show has everything that a horror fan could want. And so many people have told us that. I've been wanting a horror trivia game show. Why haven't they done one
Mhm.
before? And so I want to see that show get perpetuated because it should. Um, it's just an amazing show, and a lot of really amazing people worked on it. And it would take care of my film family if we could get money to make another season. That would be employing like 50 people in the Chicagoland area, where it's not like there's film all the time in the Illinois area compared to LA, for example. So it's just something that I would be very proud to be able to employ my friends to make another season of a cool show for our fans. Um, and then in terms of, so that's separate. That's kind of independent. And then with Screambox, honestly, my co-director Charlie Queen, on Your Dearest Darkest Friend, who's also an associate producer and the editor on Better Luck Than Chuck. Um, he pitched me a show many years ago called Folktale, that I really want to do for Screambox. That would be the next thing that I want to do for Screambox. It's a 6 episode series, um, small town horror, very much like if Silver Bullet was put into a mixing bowl with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, is how I'll put it. Um, Maybe a
Wow.
little Twin Peaks even, but it's a lot of fun. And what I've read of the script and what I've seen of the concepts and stuff, it would be a really awesome series that I'm really excited about. And so that is hopefully the next thing that we do with Screambox.
That sounds really cool. If you could give one piece of advice to aspiring independent horror filmmakers, what would it be, Tony?
I feel like I've said this a lot, but it's kind of a two-part thing. It's one, you absolutely have to love it in order to keep doing it. And I mean that you have to love it. You have to absolutely love it more than anything else in your life, except for maybe your spouse. You have to love making movies because it is hard and it's exhausting. And I'm in my mid 40s now. I don't have the energy I had when I was in my 20s making movies, or even in my 30s. So you have to be passionate about it, and you have to be tenacious. You can't you can't expect, you always hear about these success stories of people like, Curry Barker, who made Obsession, and it's like, well, his first movie was on YouTube, and he made it for $1,000, and that gained him the reputation to then go and make Obsession. He skipped a lot of steps, in my opinion, and I think bravo, more power to you, buddy. That's awesome. But there's so many people in this business like me who have been doing it for. I've been doing this for 21 years now professionally, and I'm not successful as a film director. Maybe I've gotten opportunities to do cool stuff, but I don't pay my bills making movies. And so you have to be tenacious. You can never give up, and as much as you may want to, and you just have to really love it, because if you don't love it, there's no reason to think that 10 years after you try doing it in your 20s that you're going to want to continue doing it, because you're either going to be broke and not able to do it anymore, or you're
Mhm.
just going to be burned out by it, and you're going to be sick of the industry, because it's a tough fucking industry. And I say that as positively as I can, because sometimes I can be criticized for being very downtrodden and just like cynical, because I am by nature, but ultimately there is a lot of opportunity in this business. It's just a matter of who you know and being at the right place at the right time. And one of my favorite quotes is, luck occurs when opportunity meets preparation. And so the way I look at it is, you get lucky in this business because you are prepared and you meet an opportunity. And whether that opportunity is running into Steven Spielberg in the line at the coffee shop, or going to a convention and meeting someone like Charlie Queen, who we met at a Days of the Dead convention 4 years ago, and we've now made four things together. Rather, we've now made 4 projects together, and so 5 projects technically together. So it's like, there is always opportunity. You just have to see that opportunity for what it is, and use it to its fullest, and never give up.
That's awesome. When last question that I have for you, Tony. When
Okay.
horror fans think of Tony Walsh 10 years from now, what legacy would you hope you've achieved?
Hopefully, it's not RIP. Hopefully, I'm still around. Um, and I just, as exhausted as I am by the business, because I'm exhausted by it. I'm proud of what I've done to this point. I wish that the things I've done were more successful, because I believe that, and I know everybody's their own biggest fan, but like, or they say your own worst critic. But in my opinion, I'm very proud of everything that I've been a part of. I think that everything that I've been a part of, whether it's producer, director, editor, whatever capacity I'm involved, I think all of it has merit to be successful in some capacity. And the people that worked on it deserve success in their catalog of work, because they're hardworking and they're good people. For the most part, most of them are good people. Some of them are pricks. But like, I think that I'm hoping that in 10 years, I'll have a handful of more projects under my belt that people will look at and say, you know, legacy. Well, he started making movies, then he picked up and started running with Screenbox. He's producing an independent game show, that's in its 10th season, or whatever the case
Ooh.
may be. That's what I want. I don't want people to be like, oh man, did you ever see any of those movies that independent director Tony Walsh did? Like, I don't know whatever happened to him, but did you ever see any of his movies? You should check those out. I want it to be like, this guy's been doing stuff for 30 years, and look at what he's done. Look at the catalog he's amassed in 3 decades of making horror movies and shows and stuff like that. That's my hope. But I need the support from the audience in order to get that. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's always the goal is, what can you do? What are you gonna do? And we started from here, now we're here, and kind of showing that as a creator.
yeah, yeah.
Well, for everybody that made it to the live, thank you so much. If you're watching it on the replay, also thank you so much for viewing, and scan that code that Tony showed earlier, so that way you can get your discount. One more time, Tony. All right, 199. You can check out Terrifier that's on there and all the other awesome shows and movies and media that is available for you. Pretty soon, we'll have your dearest darkest friend, among other things. So thank you so much, Tony, for joining me tonight. I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope we can collab in the future, maybe once, Better Luck Than Chuck comes out, or maybe even once, your Dearest Darkest Friend comes out, maybe we can do a sit down and discuss it more once, we've actually had a chance to watch it.
Yeah, I would be more than happy to come back on, Luna, anytime. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you introducing me and my work to your audience. I hope that everybody's willing to go and check out my stuff. You can go to scotchworthy.com if you want to put that in the chat. And in the
Yeah.
store, the merch section, there's copies of pretty much all of my movies there that you can check out. You can rent High on the Hog, which is my Grindhouse movie starring the late great Sid Haig, Robert Zadar, and Joe Estevez. You can rent that pretty much everywhere. Streaming is available. Get a subscription to Screambox and subscribe to Better Luck Than Chuck's YouTube channel because it's releasing this fall, and we are very excited. And I want to hear how well you do on the trivia, people, because if you're a horror, I want to know if you did a good job or if we stumped you.
Right, there's a lot of good people in trivia. Come out and watch it and see if you're stumped or not.
Yep.
Well, thank you, everybody, and go check out everything that Tony's doing. Thank you all. See you guys next time. Bye.
Hello, boils and ghouls. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to thank you for listening.